Hello, beloved. In this season of Lent, I want to invite you to participate in a study on prayer. It's based on a book by John Endermark. It's called Traveling the Prayer Paths of Jesus. In Luke chapter 11, verse 1, it says Jesus is praying in a certain place, and the disciples come to him and say, "Teach us to pray." And what follows is the Lord's Prayer. Jesus, in his ministry, is continuously in motion. He's traveling from one place to the other, preaching, teaching, and healing. And there are all of these encounters with people. But what he does is he pauses to pray. He goes to certain places, and oftentimes quiet places, to pray. So we see a pattern of Jesus praying and then engaging with people. So the Gospels show us all of these occasions and episodes of Jesus praying and then encountering people in the midst of the unfolding drama of their life. Following the prayer paths of Jesus hopefully will help us learn how to have an ongoing conversation with God, and that will strengthen us in our relationships with other people and just in every moment of our life as it unfolds. Jesus wants us to experience being beloved. That's why I address you always as beloved. So that's the core of his relationship with God the Father. In John chapter 10, he says, "The Father and I are one." So prayer is an outgrowth of that unity, that union, that connection with God the Father, and in the Trinity, even Christ and the Spirit. So prayer is relational. Prayer is conversational. So Jesus wants us to experience being beloved and that oneness with God the Father and with Him through the power of the Spirit and the experience of prayer. So Jesus lives and prays out of the strength that he finds in solitude, silence, and prayer. And his experience of prayer we find in the Gospels is one of knowing and being known. Really, it starts with being known, and out of being known by God the Father so well, this oneness, this connection, this unity with God the Father, then even Jesus is known. So it's that relationship and that experience of being known fully and then coming to know more fully in relationship with God. So there's a rest in that. There's the capacity to rest in that oneness with God, to find a safe place, a place of peace in prayer. And out of that connection with God, out of that modeling of conversation with God that Jesus gives us, then we come to know God more fully as God knows us. So prayer is really at the heart of the journey of Jesus. So I hope it will be at the heart of our journey with Jesus as a Christian disciple. And so the heart of that is prayer. We come to know God's heart as God knows us fully. We come to know that we are beloved, and that frees us to be honest, to be authentic, to trust more fully in God, and to have this ongoing conversation, heart to heart, and to get in sync with who God is and with God's will. So as we move through this first week of the season of Lent, in this study, week 1 of this study, we see that prayer begins for Jesus, out of solitude, quiet time, certain times of prayer and conversation with God, and a quality of time with God. That's prayer. Most of us in our lives find that solitude and silence are a bit of a luxury. With the pace of our life, with the demands that we encounter in our lives, solitude and silence don't come easily. But what we learn from Jesus is that he went to certain places and had dedicated time just to rest in his oneness with God the Father and have conversation, to listen and respond. So that's what the pattern of prayer for Jesus, what it did for him. So I hope we learn that as Jesus teaches us how to pray. I hope that's what we learn, is to have a pattern of prayer. Really, each of us can develop our own style of prayer, our own pattern of prayer, based on our personality, our life experience, our faith, our faithfulness, our journey. So I want to encourage you to allow Jesus to teach you how to pray, but to learn your pattern of prayer. I think each one of us are a little bit different. So as we find this prayer path, this pattern in our life following Jesus, Jesus will teach us how to pray if we follow in his path. So find your path in communion with Christ, and he will teach us how to pray, how to rest in God's steadfast love, God's grace, how to have conversation, and how to find renewal. So that's my hope and my prayer for this Lenten season. And I hope you find that as we begin this study in week 1, let's walk the prayer path of Jesus and find a closer walk with him and communion with Christ and with God the Father through the power of the Spirit in prayer. That's my hope, my prayer for all of us as we follow the prayer path of Jesus.